What's up, you guys? Steven here for Off the Shelf Movie Night to talk to you about physical media, about Blu-rays and 4Ks, and the way we like to buy and own our movies and TV shows and documentaries and whatever it is you like to watch, watching it on a screen, owning it on a shelf. Today, I'm here to talk to you not necessarily about a disc, here to talk to you about going to the movies. I was going to save this review for the end of the month when I do my Pushing 100 recap, which is all the movies I've seen for the month in theater. But this movie's making some money at the box office. There's a lot of conversation around it, and I felt like I wanted to have a say in that conversation. So I'm going to talk to you about Uncharted right now. If you haven't subscribed, if you're seeing me for the first time, we talk about movies, we talk about Blu-rays, we talk about 4Ks. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell to stay up to date on what we're doing, and let's keep this conversation going, because that's the whole reason I do what I'm doing here, is just to talk to other collectors. So anyway, on to Uncharted. Let me set the stage for you. Let me let you know where I'm coming from before we get into this too much. I have played a couple of the Uncharted games. I'm not a diehard, I love Uncharted kind of thing. I've played a whole lot more Tomb Raider than I have Uncharted. Because in my household growing up, I was a Sega guy and then I was an Xbox guy. I've never been a PlayStation guy. I think the last PlayStation that I had was a PS2 in my house. I probably at some point will pick up a PS5 because I'm interested in that, but I'm going to wait till they change the shape of that box because it's real big and chunky and ugly right now and expensive. But that's a whole other topic of conversation, other than to say I'm not coming into the Uncharted movie looking to see how it compares to the game. But honestly, it annoys me when people do that because I don't do that even with games I love. We've got the Halo TV series coming out. People are talking about inconsistencies with the game with that, what they've seen so far. The thing about video game stories is you need to stop with yourself. You need to stop with yourself because video game stories, by design, are convoluted as hell. They wouldn't, in their current form, make a good movie. I know. We've all sat beside each other playing a game that had an interesting kind of fun concept and looked at each other and said, this would make a cool movie. No, it probably wouldn't. Maybe some elements of it would, but generally it would not. They're convoluted as hell because they have to be so that we have things to do in the game. So anyway, moving on. What I do love and what I do have a soft spot for are treasure hunting adventure movies. I love the Indiana Jones movies, Kingdom of Crystal Skull, not so much, but the others I love. I love the National Treasure movies. I love The Mummy, at least the first one. The second one too, kinda. I even love Angelina Jolie's first Tomb Raider movie. The second one I didn't like, but the first one I liked. The Tomb Raider remake I thought was okay. It wasn't so good, but I and probably the only reason I think it was okay is because, as I said, I have a soft spot for this kind of storytelling. I just enjoy it. So I was excited for Uncharted for that, not because it was associated with a video game. In fact, the association with the video game concerned me, and my concerns were validated seeing this movie. So we have this setup of Tom Holland's character. He grew up in a treasure hunting family, kind of, gets separated from his brother, has to fend for himself, and still loves the idea of the treasure hunt and wants to find his brother. I mean, it's just all very formula, very, 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 very textbook setup for this kind of film. He hooks up with Mark Wahlberg, who is a shady, working in the gray area kind of criminal character who is also looking for a treasure that would require the two characters to work together. So in what you would expect, these two would build a bond and by the end of it be like a little family and be treasure hunting and whatever. And they kind of are doing that, but the problem is the script doesn't define their motivations and their character archetypes well. There's a sequence in the movie where Tom Holland's character berates Mark Wahlberg's character for being some guy who just is in it for the gold, right? Well, we spent the first 15 minutes watching Tom Holland be a thief himself, stealing from people, stealing diamond bracelets and whatever. So where does he get off? That whole argument doesn't really work because he's in it for the gold too. He may have more aspirations to find out what happened to his brother, but for the most part, for the majority of the running time of the movie, that's all secondary to just simply finding the gold. It's the thing about National Treasure, about Tomb Raider, and about Indiana Jones. These characters were all in it to put the stuff in a museum. So I can't really remember now thinking back. I think The Mummy was the same, but I can't promise that. It's been a while since I've watched that movie. But anyway, they were good guys. They were heroes. So they were set up as a hero, archetype. And then on the other side, we always had a supervillain. So right now we've got Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg's characters in the gray area, even when they're pretending, Tom Holland, not to be. And so we look to a supervillain. And we don't really have it in this movie. There's motivations for villainy, but the villain is all kind of a mess until the last act of the movie. And by then, we haven't had any time to build up any connection to what really happens with the villain. Antonio Banderas is quite a brilliant casting choice for a villain, but it doesn't play well. It doesn't work out in this movie. I'm not going to spoil, but there are reasons. It just doesn't work. And when you see it, you may like this movie, but you'll agree that the villain is a disaster in the movie. Here's the other thing. This may be a hot take based off some reviews I've seen, but Tom Holland was very much miscast in this role. I think he does nothing new. It feels like Peter Parker searching for treasure without his Spider-Man suit. He is exactly Peter Parker in this movie, except he has a extra ability to pickpocket. And honestly, Spider-Man could probably pickpocket too if he wanted to. He brings nothing new emotionally. He brings nothing new acting-wise. He's charismatic. He's fun to watch. But it literally is like watching Peter Parker in a non-Spider-Man movie. There's nothing fresh here. Mark Wahlberg is underappreciated, I think. He brings his goofy charm to the film that I think is fun in most of his projects. But the director gives him a very weird, incomplete character arc and often nothing to do but be there and be the wise guy. He has no real impact on the film. So this is most definitely not Mark Wahlberg's part. He just has nothing to do. And when you look at the National Treasure, the main guy, Nicolas Cage, they do a lot to build him up as an expert in what they're doing. And they show a lot of awe when he does figure something out in the movie, working out the treasures. So you believe him. Tom Holland's character, it felt like just a couple of bullet points to try and kind of set him up as somebody who might know something about something. And there's no awe when he makes a discovery. It's just happenstance. It's like, oh, I know everything all the time. I don't know if you've heard the term Mary Sue, but that's Tom Holland in this movie. He just knows everything all the time when he needs to know it. There's no discovery in the treasure hunting aspect of it. Indiana Jones, again, very well established his level of knowledge on a situation. And even then, the treasure hunting part, the working of puzzles and that kind of thing, is the best and has always been the best in the Indiana Jones movies, and no one's ever gotten close to it. It felt organic. And honestly, even in the bad National Treasure installments, it felt still kind of organic there too. But this one doesn't feel organic. The geography is real stupid in it too. There's 20 minutes of them going through these hidden caverns that no one has been inside in hundreds and hundreds of years. Yet the only thing separating these caverns from a rave party is a vent. Not a ductwork, nothing like that, just a vent in the wall. It's the impossibility of it is just astounding. So also, let's talk about the CGI. The CGI in the trailer was terrible. In this movie, it's a little better, but still, it's so glittery and smooth and clean and beautiful. The action scenes feel like video game cutscenes, and they're really distracting. The final act of the movie, the final big sequence, is so painfully unbelievable that it feels like a cartoon. The entire movie forgets physics. Tom Holland also is not Spider-Man, but he can take a beating in this movie without even a scratch. I mean, let me just slam an entire car into this character and not even a cracked rib. This stuff, it's just simple things they could have done to have made the movie a little better. I just came out of this thinking, okay. The other thing about National Treasure, the reason that one works is the ensemble cast is so much fun. So you have Tom Holland basically just doing a Tom Holland Peter Parker thing. Nothing, zero fresh. Mark Wahlberg doing his charismatic, goofy thing, also nothing fresh. Mark Wahlberg, I blame on the script. Tom Holland, I'm not so sure he can do anything but Peter Parker. We'll see. I hope I'm wrong about that. The other cast of characters is completely forgettable. There's one other team member. This poor actress is so forgettable. I don't know if it's her acting chops or what the script gave her, but she's completely boring. The ensemble on the villains side, I don't even remember their names. Completely boring. I feel like I've seen some positive reviews, and people come in and have loved these games for many years, and the majority of video game movies are really terrible. So the bar is so low coming into this movie, and it's not really terrible. It feels like a breath of fresh air. I understand that. I get it, you guys. I get it. But I'm kind of happy that I don't have that frame of reference as far as loving the game. So I can just come in and look at it cinematically and look at the script as a written script and the direction as it's directed and the acting as it's acted. Because it's a bad movie. It's blandtastic blandness. It's utterly forgettable. This is on the same line as the Tomb Raider remake. It's not good, but it's not a complete disaster. If it weren't for the fact that it was Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg, we probably wouldn't be talking about this from 2 months from now. There are 2 post-credit scenes setting up additional storytelling, and this movie did well at the box office, so we might get more of these movies. The actors, Mark Wahlberg is good. I have hope and I have faith that maybe Tom Holland is good. I haven't seen him be good in anything but Spider-Man, so I don't know. That remains to be seen. He's a very likable guy, but he looks like in this movie he looks like a 17-year-old playing, someone who's supposed to be probably in their late 20s, and it doesn't work. He needs to get some age about him. He needs to grow some stubble or something to age him up, because he just looks like a baby, and that's just unfortunate. He's got the Ralph Macchio syndrome, and that destroyed Ralph Macchio's career, unfortunately, is having that issue. So he doesn't look the part. And I'm saying this from someone who doesn't love the games. I hate to be so negative, you guys, but this is just how I feel. I don't think it's a good movie, and I see so many people saying that it is, and it really isn't. It isn't. Physics are a thing. This sequence that happens in the trailer is an impossibility. We had something like this in Black Widow too, where she's not a superpowered individual, but she sure felt like it. I just didn't like this movie. I didn't like this movie because the bones of something cool are there, and it's very unrealized. I wish David O. Russell had made the movie years ago with Mark Wahlberg. He had Mark Wahlberg at one point. Nathan Fillion, who I think was a brilliant casting choice 15 years ago, was attached to it at one point. I think those would have been better movies, honestly. That's my review of Uncharted. I ranted long enough. Sorry I went so long, but I just feel like I've got to be, get out my reasons for being an opposing force to what I see out there in most of the fandom, because people all seem to be liking it. And it's one of those situations where I feel like I'm alone in the dark. But anyway, I hope you appreciated this video. If you liked it, give it a like, give it a share. Let's talk in the comments. I'm fully open to discussing this movie in the comments. Just be nice about it. Let's talk about Uncharted. Let's talk about physical media. Until next we meet, pull something cool off the shelf, share it with your friends and family, and remind them why physical media is the best way to watch films and TV at home. I'll see you guys on the next one.